The summer heat hung heavy over the dusty parking lot of the Roadside diner, somewhere off Interstate 40 in rural Texas. Marcus Johnson wiped the sweat from his brow as he stepped out of his 18-wheeler, stretching his tired muscles after 8 hours behind the wheel. The African-American truck driver was just looking for a quick meal and a cold drink before pushing on to Dallas. As he walked toward the diner's entrance, Marcus noticed a group of 5 men leaning against a pickup truck, their arms covered in crude tattoos, their eyes hard and unfriendly. He'd seen their type before, white supremacists, judging by the symbols on their clothing. Marcus kept his head down, hoping to avoid trouble. "Hey," one of them called out. "Where do you think you're going, boy?" Marcus kept walking, his heart rate quickening. He knew better than to engage. "I'm talking to you." The man's voice grew louder, angrier. Before Marcus could reach the door, the 5 men had surrounded him. The largest one, with a shaved head and a swastika tattoo on his neck, stepped forward. "We don't like your kind around here," he spat. "Maybe you should get back in that truck and keep driving." Marcus raised his hands peacefully. "I don't want any trouble. Just getting some food." "You're already in trouble," another one sneered, cracking his knuckles. The situation was escalating quickly. The leader shoved Marcus hard in the chest, and he stumbled backward. They were closing in now, fists clenched, faces twisted with hatred. Marcus knew he had to defend himself. He raised his arms to protect his face as the first punch flew, but then something happened. As Marcus lifted his arms, his right sleeve pulled back slightly, revealing the edge of a tattoo on his forearm. One of the attackers caught a glimpse of it and froze. "Wait," the man shouted, grabbing the leader's arm before another punch could land. "Wait, look at his arm." The leader paused, confused. "What?" "His tattoo. Look at his tattoo." Roughly, the leader grabbed Marcus's arm and yanked the sleeve up further. There, inked clearly on Marcus's dark skin, was an unmistakable symbol, the Special Forces insignia, specifically the 1st Special Forces Operational Detachment Delta Force. Beneath it were dates of service and a small ribbon representing the Medal of Honor, the color drained from the leader's face. "Oh God," he whispered, releasing Marcus's arm as if it had burned him. "Oh God, no." The other men crowded around to see, and one by one, their expressions changed from hatred to shock, then to something like terror. You're... The leader stammered. Marcus stood tall now, lowering his arms, his dark eyes steady and calm. "Marcus Johnson. Sergeant Major, retired. Delta Force. 3 tours in Afghanistan, 2 in Iraq." One of the younger gang members had pulled out his phone and was frantically typing. His face went pale as he read the screen. "It's him," the young man said, his voice shaking. "Marcus Johnson. Medal of Honor recipient. It says here oh Jesus, he saved an entire platoon, including Captain James Morrison." The leader's knees seemed to buckle. "Morrison? Jimmy Morrison? You know him?" Marcus asked, his voice steady but curious. The leader looked like he might be sick. He's my cousin. He talks about you all the time. Says you're the reason he's alive. The reason he got to meet his daughter. He's told that story 100 times, how you ran into enemy fire, how you carried 3 wounded soldiers to safety while holding off insurgents on your own." The man's tough facade was crumbling. Tears were forming in his eyes. "Jimmy would kill me if he knew." The leader's voice broke. "If he knew I was about to attack the man who saved his life," another gang member spoke up, his voice thick with emotion. "My brother served in Iraq. He's told me about Delta Force operators. Said they're the toughest men alive. Said without guys like them, most soldiers wouldn't make it home." Marcus remained calm, though his own hands were shaking slightly from the adrenaline. "Your brother's name?" "Eddie Kowalski. He was Army Rangers." Marcus nodded slowly. "I knew Eddie. Good soldier. We worked together on a mission in Fallujah, 2006. The young man's eyes widened, and tears spilled down his cheeks. "He died in 2008. IED. "I know," Marcus said quietly. "I was at his memorial. He was a hero." The silence that followed was profound. The 5 men who had been ready to assault Marcus just moments ago now stood with their heads bowed, shame washing over them like a wave. The leader finally spoke, his voice barely above a whisper. I can't. Sir, I'm so sorry. There's no excuse for what we almost did." Marcus studied them for a long moment. "You're right. There's no excuse. You judged me by my skin color, not by my character. Not by my service. Not by what I've done for this country, our country." "I know," the leader said, wiping his eyes roughly. "My cousin Jimmy, he always tells me I'm wrong about black people. About everybody who's different. He says the men who saved his life in Afghanistan were every color you can imagine. He says hatred like mine dishonors their sacrifice. He's right, Marcus said simply. Another gang member spoke up. My dad was in Vietnam. He was saved by a black medic who dragged him through the jungle for 3 miles with a bullet in his own leg. Dad always told me never to judge a man by anything but his actions. I forgot that lesson. I'm ashamed. Marcus took a deep breath. The anger he had every right to feel was there, but so was something else, an opportunity. Listen to me, he said, his voice carrying the authority of a man who had commanded soldiers in combat. I could have you all arrested right now for assault. I could make sure you face serious charges. But I'm going to tell you the same thing I used to tell my soldiers: you can't change the past, but you can change the future. The men looked up at him, hope and fear mixed in their expressions. Every single day, I fought alongside men and women of every race, religion, and background you can imagine. White guys from Montana, black guys from Detroit, Latinos from Texas, Asian Americans from California. Muslims, Christians, Jews, atheists. We bled together. We saved each other. Because when bullets are flying, you don't care about skin color. You care about the person next to you who's got your back. Marcus pointed at the leader. You want to honor your cousin Jimmy? Then stop this hate. Take off those symbols of division. Start seeing people as individuals, not as colors or categories. The leader nodded, tears flowing freely now. I will. I swear I will. And the rest of you? Marcus looked at each man in turn. One by one, they nodded, some crying, others too choked up to speak. Good, Marcus said. Now let me tell you something else. The man who recommended me for the Medal of Honor? He was a white guy from Alabama. His grandfather had been in the KKK. But this soldier, this brave, incredible soldier, he put his own life on the line to make sure I got recognized for my service. He told me that his grandfather's hatred had poisoned his family for generations, and he was determined to break that cycle. He became one of my best friends. The young man who had lost his brother spoke up. What happened to him? Marcus smiled sadly. He's a police chief now in Alabama. Married to a Korean woman. They have 3 beautiful kids. And he runs a program bringing together cops and community members of all races to build understanding. He's a better man than I'll ever be. I doubt that, sir, the leader said quietly. Marcus reached into his pocket and pulled out a business card. This is the number for a veterans organization I work with. We help veterans dealing with PTSD, addiction, anger, and yes, even helping people overcome racist beliefs they learned before or during service. If any of you want to change, really change, call that number. Tell them Marcus sent you. The leader took the card with trembling hands. Thank you, sir. You're showing us more mercy than we deserve. Everyone deserves a chance to change, Marcus said. I've seen the worst of humanity in war. But I've also seen the best. I've seen people overcome their prejudices when faced with reality. I'm giving you that chance now. Don't waste it. As Marcus turned to walk into the diner, the leader called out. Sir? Can I call my cousin Jimmy? Tell him I met you? Tell him I'm going to change? Marcus paused at the door and looked back. You do that. And tell Jimmy that Marcus says hello, and that I'm proud of the man he's become. And maybe. Marcus smiled slightly, maybe tell him you're going to make him proud too. The leader nodded vigorously. I will, sir. I promise. Marcus finally entered the diner, his legs feeling weak as the adrenaline drained away. The elderly waitress who had witnessed the entire confrontation through the window approached him with a coffee pot. That was the bravest thing I've ever seen, she said, filling his cup with shaking hands. And I don't just mean because you're a war hero. I mean the mercy you showed those boys. Marcus wrapped his hands around the warm cup. My grandmother used to say that hate is like drinking poison and expecting the other person to die. Those men out there, they're poisoning themselves. If I can help cure even one of them, maybe it's worth it. Your grandmother was a wise woman. She was, Marcus agreed. She lived through segregation, through the civil rights movement. She saw the worst of what people can do to each other. But she never let it make her bitter. She always said love was stronger than hate, but only if good people were brave enough to show that love, even to those who didn't deserve it. Through the window, Marcus could see the 5 men in the parking lot. They were in a circle, and it looked like they were having an intense discussion. The leader was on his phone, presumably calling his cousin Jimmy. Marcus ate his meal slowly, thinking about all the paths that had led to this moment. The poverty of his childhood in South Central LA. The decision to join the army to escape gang violence. The grueling training of special forces. The countless moments of terror and triumph in combat. The friends he'd lost. The enemies he'd faced. And now, this, a parking lot confrontation that could have ended in violence but instead might be the beginning of something better. As he paid his bill and prepared to leave, the door opened and the 5 men walked in. They approached his table cautiously. "Sir," the leader said, "I just got off the phone with Jimmy. He wants to talk to you, if you have a minute." Marcus took the offered phone. "Jimmy? It's Marcus." The voice on the other end was thick with emotion. "Brother, I can't believe this. Of all the gin joints in all the world. What are the odds?" Marcus chuckled. "Still quoting Casablanca, I see. Always. Listen, Marcus, I'm so sorry about my cousin. I've been trying to reach him for years, trying to show him a better way. I had no idea he'd gotten involved with those kinds of people." "He's young," Marcus said. "He can still change. Thanks to you, maybe he will. He's crying like a baby right now, telling me he's going to be better. You've done more in 5 minutes than I've done in 5 years. Sometimes people need to face the reality of their choices," Marcus said. "Sometimes they need to see that the people they hate are human beings who've sacrificed for them. You always did have a way with words, Marcus. Hey, listen, I'm coming to Texas next month for a training conference. Can we get together? Bring the families? I want my daughter to meet you. I want her to know the man who made sure she got to have a father. I'd like that, Jimmy. I'd like that a lot." After saying goodbye and returning the phone, Marcus looked at the 5 men. "Here's what I want from you all. I want you to do something good. Volunteer somewhere. Help somebody who doesn't look like you. Learn about people different from yourselves. And most importantly, when you see other people spreading hate, speak up. Be brave enough to say that's wrong." "We will," they said in unison. As Marcus walked back to his truck, the leader jogged after him. "Sir, one more thing. Would you sign my arm? Where I have this tattoo?" He pointed to a white supremacist symbol on his forearm. "I'm getting it removed, but until I can afford it, I want your signature there. I want to remember this day. Remember the day I started to become a better man." Marcus paused, then pulled out a permanent marker he kept for signing delivery forms. He signed his name right across the hateful symbol. "There," he said. "Now every time you look at that, you remember, redemption is possible. Change is possible. Being better is possible." The man looked at the signature with tears streaming down his face. "Thank you, sir. Thank you for your service. And thank you for today." Marcus climbed into his truck and started the engine. As he pulled out of the parking lot, he could see the 5 men in his mirror, standing together, looking at the signature on their leader's arm. Later that evening, as Marcus drove through the Texas night, his phone buzzed with a text message. It was from an unknown number. "This is Derek, the leader of the group from today. I just wanted you to know, we found a veterans shelter nearby that needs volunteers. We're going to start helping out there on weekends. And I called the number on your card. I have my first appointment next week. Thank you for saving my life today, just like you saved Jimmy's life all those years ago. You're a real hero." Marcus smiled and set the phone down. His grandmother's words echoed in his mind, "Love is stronger than hate." As the miles rolled by beneath his wheels, Marcus thought about the power of a single moment, a single act of mercy, a single choice to respond to hate with humanity rather than violence. He thought about all the soldiers he'd served with, all the lives that had been saved by people working together regardless of their differences, and he thought about the tattoo on his arm, a symbol of service, sacrifice, and brotherhood. A symbol that had today become something more, a bridge between divided people, a reminder that beneath all our superficial differences, we're all human beings capable of change, growth, and redemption. The road stretched out before him, lit by the glow of his headlights, disappearing into the darkness ahead. But Marcus wasn't afraid of the darkness. He'd learned long ago that even the smallest light could pierce the deepest shadow, and today, he'd been that light. 6 months later, Marcus received a package in the mail. Inside was a photograph of the 5 men from the parking lot, now clean-cut and wearing volunteer t-shirts, standing outside the veterans' shelter. They were surrounded by elderly veterans of all races, everyone smiling. With the photo was a letter from Derek. "Dear Sergeant Major Johnson, I wanted you to know what's happened since that day. All 5 of us have left the gang. We've had our hate tattoos removed or covered with new ones, tattoos that mean something positive. We volunteer at the veterans' shelter every weekend, and we've started speaking at schools about the dangers of hate groups and the importance of judging people by their character. Why cousin Jimmy came to visit, and we cried together. He told me more stories about you, about the men and women you served with, about the real meaning of brotherhood and courage. I'm enrolled in community college now, studying social work. I want to help other young men like me, men who've been led down the wrong path by hate and fear. The others are doing well too. 2 have gone back to school. 1 got a job working with at-risk youth. Another reconnected with his estranged daughter, who's biracial, something he'd been ashamed of before but now embraces with pride and love. Talk often about that day in the parking lot. About how close we came to doing something unforgivable. About how one man's courage and mercy changed all our lives. You told us that redemption is possible. You were right. Thank you for believing in us when we didn't believe in ourselves. With deepest respect and gratitude, Derek. And the guy's Marcus placed the letter and photo on his mantle, next to his Medal of Honor and the pictures of his fallen comrades. He smiled, thinking once again of his grandmother's wisdom. Love is stronger than hate, always has been, always will be.